Gagne. I am a teacher, a performing arts teacher in New York City. During the time of COVID-19, which is odd and strange in so many ways. So as you can tell, I'm wearing the mask. This is something that's new for all of us doing this craziness. And I'll take it off now because we are socially distanced and we're trying to observe all the rules for COVID protocol. So I'm going to take it off now. And that's a relief, I just might add. So I guess I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my experience with this virus and this pandemic. It's something I've never experienced anything like this in my entire life. I think the closest thing to it is probably 9/11, and that's the first time I had, a feeling of that I was no longer in control of reality, of my world, right? This is something that I didn't understand. And it was odd at that time, because everything got very quiet in the streets of New York. And I remember there was a look on everyone's face of shock, actually. So nobody was saying anything. The city was very quiet for the first time ever. And I was born and raised in the city. And the city was extremely quiet, more quiet than I've ever imagined. It was very post-apocalyptic, in fact. And there was a look on everyone's face as if, can you believe it? Like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't even know where I am. And it was odd and scary. It was very scary, that feeling. And I remember it was surreal as well, because as the days went on and all of the firefighters were down at the Trade Center, digging through the rubble and such, I remember I was on a subway platform, and again, lots of people on the platform, but no talking whatsoever, zero talking. And it's unusual. So that was the experience I had back then. And now we come to this experience where they're starting to mention pandemic, they're starting to mention this virus, they're starting to mention things. And now I'm going to go back to the beginning of, February, of 2020. And it was at that point that, we went, so this is in New York City, we're in New York City and we're now teaching, we just went home. That's what we did. There was no teaching from home. There was no Zoom from home. There was no anything. There was just, all right, what's going on? Well, I guess we'll figure it out, just like everyone else did. And then suddenly, one day led to the next day, and the mask wearing, and then Governor Cuomo's speeches, these sort of like fireside chats, when he was just every week filling us in on what the numbers, the death toll. We couldn't see anyone, you can't see your friends, you can't go anywhere. And it was also a time when both of our sons were graduating college that June. So that was on our mind too, what's going to happen there. And then they got sent home. And then the world just flipped upside down again. I mean, that's about the best way I can describe it. The world just flipped upside down again. So here's the thing. So here's where it gets strange, okay? It's not, you have to understand that there's a lot of people, really struggling in COVID, not working, food lines and stuff. So in some ways, but there are a lot of people also working in COVID, which is strange, right? You have all your first responders, you have nurses, you have people in supermarkets, you have Amazon workers. So there's a lot of people working, but there's a lot of people not working. Mm-hmm. So as a teacher, I'm working, okay? So we don't have theater, right? So that's, for me, crippling. And we have a sort of a basic interaction with the kids, but it's kind of on Zoom, something I don't like per se, because I really do like the social element. And then, I'm very grateful that we have a job and all that, mind you, especially during a pandemic. And I'm really happy that we're helping kids. I mean, that to me is like, you need a purpose, right? And the purpose is to help other kids and to help kids get through it and to teach them about how to do it. So we're kind of excited about that. And that's where we're at.
So besides teaching,
Yeah.
what was, just your experience as like a person? Like when you, besides as a teacher and like
Yeah,
with
okay,
your family and from upstate to New York and...
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, here's the funny thing. As a teacher, it was easier for me than as a parent and as a family. That was much harder for me because I had 2 kids graduating college, so now they were at home for their final semester when they're supposed to be sending off, big send off with their friends and a big finale, this big finale, and then they go off and they have a graduation. There's 4 years of struggle, and then there's a culmination or a climax, and now there's nothing. It was so anticlimactic. And now my kids can't even go, how do you get into the workforce even? Because you can have interviews, you can try for these kind of Zoom interviews, I guess, but are people even hiring? I mean, most people are not. So for me, that's been really, really hard, is the isolation of our family. It's been almost impossibly hard. That's been the hardest part. So, desperate times call for desperate measures, right?
Exactly.
So, and creative people become really creative. So that's the beauty. So for me, no matter what, no matter how hard, you gotta look at the glass is half full, and you got to say, there's a famous book out there, The Obstacle is the Way, right? So what happens is when a door closes, you got to figure out another way in. You just have to figure out another way in, and that's where we're at now. So we'll make a film, and this is something our drama club didn't spend a lot of time doing, but we're certainly going to do it now. And then, what do you do in life? So we are rediscovering dinners together as a family. We're rediscovering cooking. We're rediscovering building things, fixing the house, fixing things up. We're rediscovering animals. We just adopted 3 cats.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So you have to shift. You just have to shift. You have to change your blueprint. What was that guy that self-help guru, Anthony Robbins, right? He said the problem, I remember just reading, I was looking online, I was like, oh, that's kind of an interesting point. He said the problem is, with people that are unhappy, is they've created a blueprint in their mind, and when they can't achieve the blueprint, they become unhappy. So he says, you got to change the blueprint. If you're hoping to become a millionaire by 30 and you're not, you're going to be miserable. So you know what? You better change that. You better say maybe by 40. I don't know, you just got to put something else out there. And the same thing is true here. Our blueprint, that's what this has done. See, I mean, it really is the emperor's new clothes. Suddenly we're like, wait a second, what is our society? We can't live from day to day without a paycheck. We can't live. What are we doing? We are not valuing the right thing. We've got to stop valuing all of the outside world, and we've got to value the intrinsic, right? We got to value families. We got to value friendships. We got to value social bonds, social circles, going out together, laughing, crying together, This is so important, and this is what's, I think, been missing. It's funny how the world sometimes gives you what you need, not necessarily what you want. And I think this is maybe what we needed. We certainly didn't want it. But you never know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's the best thing that's ever happened to us.